Good evening. Let us begin, not with a text to analyze, but with a door to open. We are not here to admire a verse as literature, or to argue meanings like scholars at a table. We are here to enter a state of awareness in which the words cease to be words and become a living avenue for the presence to make itself known. Be still and know that I am God is not an epigram. It is not even a command in the human sense. It is an entryway into consciousness, and our work this hour is to find the latch, turn it, and step through. For some, when you hear, "be still," it sounds like a scolding. It strikes the ear as stern, as if a teacher had rapped the desk and said, "Quiet now." And at once your mind bristles, your thoughts grow louder, and you feel you have failed before you have begun. For others, be still appears as an unreachable ideal, the province of saints and silent mountains, a place for people with fewer responsibilities, fewer crying children, fewer bills. Quiet belongs to them, you say, not to me. And for still others, be still is a sweet memory you cannot regain. You knew a hush once, perhaps in youth, perhaps in a retreat, a hospital room, a moment at a window when the world fell away. And now it feels like a story from another life that will not come when called. If you find yourself in any of these, welcome. You are not out of place here. The promise of our time together is simple, and I say it without any attempt to gather you into something human. There is no membership to take, no organization to join, no spiritual elite seated up front with special badges. There is only a shared willingness to look within and verify for ourselves whether spirit is what it claims to be. In this room, and in every room where truth is sought, the only bond is a spiritual bond. No one can be forced into it. Blessings cannot be inflicted. We consent, and we discover. Now hear this, gently. You do not make stillness. The more you try to be still by force, the less still you become. Have you noticed? The will turns upon itself. The mind commands the mind to stop, and, like telling a child not to think of a red apple, the very prohibition multiplies the image. Therefore, the meaning must be something other than willpower. Be still is not a demand for strain. It is an invitation to yield to what already is. It is the restful recognition that before your effort, beneath your effort, after your effort, the presence is present. If, this evening, we accomplish anything, let it be this: that the verse ceases to press upon you like a taskmaster and begins to open in you like a door. Just for now, even with the thoughts moving, let a small corner of awareness relax its grip and admit the possibility that God is already here. Not later, not when you succeed. Here. And knowing is what happens when you stop wrestling and allow yourself to be held. Now let us look plainly at the way most of us have tried to answer this verse, and why it has wearied us. For some, the attempt has looked like jaw and shoulders tightening, back held straight as a rod, breath counted like a drill. For others, it has been a fierce determination. I will not think. I will not wander. I will not feel. And of course, the very next moment proves the opposite. And for still others, it takes the form of tricks. Hold the eyes just so. Whisper the phrase again and again. Bargain with the thoughts. Bribe the body with a reward for good behavior. My friends, all of this is honest effort. It is also the wrong instrument. The reason is this: the personal mind that makes noise is the very thing you are asking to make quiet. It is thought calling upon thought to end thought. It is a wave commanding the sea to be still. A house divided against itself cannot stand, and a mind divided against itself will not rest. When the mind scolds itself, "Quiet now," it has not produced stillness. It has produced a second voice. When it resists, it multiplies. And the more energy you pour into that struggle, the more the pool ripples. That is why, if stillness depends upon personal effort, it will always be temporary, and usually impossible. Look at your day and tell me if this is not so. The morning begins with the newspaper, or the screen that has replaced the newspaper. And before you finish the first headline, the phone is buzzing. Buzz for the message, buzz for the market, buzz for the delivery at the door, buzz for the reminder to drink water, as if the body had forgotten how. Beneath it runs the commentator within, the private news anchor who never signs off. What did she mean by that text? Why did he look away? Am I late? Am I behind? Am I enough? You put the device down and the broadcast continues. Willpower can silence a phone. It cannot silence the inner newsroom. Nor do externals cure this. You can arrange the perfect chair, the perfect room, the perfect candle. You can get the raise, the new car, the better mattress. For a day or two, there is a lull. Then the same ache returns and asks a deeper question. I have seen it in those who have acquired every comfort and found the discomfort inside still alive. And I have seen it, forgive me, in religion that has turned prayer into a regimen. More words, longer services, better music, and yet left the heart restless, the head noisy, the life unhealed. Outward success, outward ritual, outward control. None of these touch the root, because the root is not out there at all. Therefore, let us be disillusioned of externals kindly, and let us retire the whip of will. Not because discipline is evil, but because discipline applied to the wrong center is futility. Now, if that is true, then the verse must be pointing to another faculty, another center than the human mind trying harder. It must be that "be still" is not a summons to the thinker to police its thoughts, but an invitation to yield to that in you which is prior to thought, deeper than effort, already at rest. We will come to that. For the moment, let the failure of will be a friend that ushers you to a new door. Now let us come to the secret. So simple that the mind has hurried past it, and so near that we have overlooked it. Be still and know that I am God is not two assignments laid upon a weary student. It is one movement of consciousness. The stillness and the knowing are not separate rungs on a ladder. They are one unfolding, like dawn and light. When stillness is present, knowing is present, automatically, inevitably, because the presence that is God is not manufactured by your quiet. It is revealed when your contending ceases. We must define our terms. Otherwise, we will keep trying to mute the world and call that spirituality. Still does not mean the absence of sound. It does not mean the absence of thought. It does not mean you must go off to a mountain or a monastery or a room with 6 locks. Still, in the language of consciousness, means the cessation of grasping, the cessation of resisting, the cessation of managing life from the small, anxious center that says, I must control, I must improve, I must make it happen. When that personal sense releases its grip, just a little, the motion of spirit, which is already at rest in itself, is felt. Not by struggle, not by strain, not by mental violence, but by yielding to presence. Visualize, if you will, a door you have been pushing with all your weight. Your shoulder is bruised from years of effort. The hinges groan, nothing gives. You have even prayed for stronger muscles to push harder. And then you stop. You stop enough to look. The latch is not on the outside. The door opens inward. Do you see it? All your pushing has only kept it closed. The instant you step back, the instant you remove the pressure of self-assertion, the door yields to you, or rather, you yield to it, and entry is effortless. This is what the verse teaches. Be still means withdraw the push of personal will, take the strain off the hinges of your own understanding, and discover that grace meets you from within. Not by struggle, not by strain, not by mental violence, but by yielding. Yielding to presence. Do not confuse this with apathy or collapse. Yielding is not carelessness. It is consent. It is not laziness. It is reverence for the one that is already governing, already sustaining, already knowing. You do not sink. You surrender the false center. You do not become passive. You become permeable. And in that permeability, the qualities of God, peace, wisdom, direction, love, flow through as naturally as light through clean glass. Now, I do not ask you to agree with this because I am saying it. I have no desire to add another belief to your shelf. This is not to be believed. It is to be verified. In the smallest way, even now, take your hands off one concern. Just one. Stop pushing. Let the door be. If thoughts continue, let them continue without your management. If sounds arise, let them be part of the room. Notice, in the very act of not contending, a different atmosphere within you appears. You have not made anything. You have stopped making interference. And what remains, presence, carries its own knowing. Therefore, the promise of the verse is wonderfully practical. Stillness is not something you manufacture. It is what remains when you stop contending with what already is. Stand back from the door. Let it open as it wishes, and you will find, without argument and without strain, that knowing accompanies the yielding like fragrance accompanies a flower. Now, if stillness is not manufactured, if it appears as the pressure lifts, we must ask a tender question. Who is it that yields? What is the you that steps back from the door and discovers entry prepared? If we leave that undefined, we will return to the same old struggler in a new costume. Therefore, let us come closer to the point of contact, the very place where consciousness and God are one, and it will not be found out on the edges of your history. Just silently within yourself, very gently, let the word I arise. Not shouted, not forced, just noticed. Do not add a last name to it. Do not hang a resume on it. Do not dress it in age, in nationality, in past success or failure. Let I come as it comes. When you wake in the night and know you are here before any thought about here has formed. That I, in its purity, is not talking. It is not defending. It does not argue. It simply is. Now watch what the mind tries to do next. The personal I comes bustling in with its bundles. I am late. I am worried. I am proud. I need. I want. That is a bundle of fear and desire, a picture book self made of memories and predictions. It is loud because it is unsure. It contends because it lives by comparison. When the psalm says, "Be still," it is not addressing that bundle. It is inviting you to notice the deeper I that was present before the bundle arrived and remains after it sets its packages down. This deeper I is awareness itself. quiet, awake, not improving, not correcting, not performing. Sit with it a moment. Just sense it. The temptation will be to try to help it, to make it holier, brighter, better. Don't. Be still. Let it be what it is. In that simple resting, you will find that knowing begins, not as information, not as sentences strung like beads, but as recognition. Presence recognizes itself. Like seeing a face you have always known, like the eye meeting light. There is no argument, no proof. There is a simple, interior, of course. When the Master said, "I and the Father are one," he did not loan us a sentence to admire. He revealed a fact of being. When you let that silent I stand revealed in you, you are not becoming divine by effort. You are consenting to the divinity that already is. That I is the point where the life, love, wisdom, substance, safety of God flows into expression as you. Without it, you are as a branch boasting of its leaves while cut from the tree. With it, you are naturally nourished without strain. And so, when the psalm says, "Be still," it is directing you to stop identifying as the surface and sink back into the source. Cease clinging to the bundle. Rest in the awareness that does not argue. In that resting, knowing is given. Not achieved by the personal self, revealed in the silent I, already one with Him. Stay with that, quietly, and you will find the door is not merely open, you were already inside. Now, if you can just visualize for a moment, because sometimes a picture says what 100 sentences cannot, you will see why quiet returns the instant union is remembered. Picture a vine, deep-rooted, drinking from hidden waters, taking in sun no human hand can manufacture. Out from that vine extends a living branch. The leaves are green, the fruit swells in season, and all of it, life, form, sweetness, is not created by the branch. It flows through the branch. It is the nature of the vine to give, and the nature of the branch to receive and express. Now set that same branch on a table, severed. See it there, brave and lonely, boasting of yesterday's leaves. Watch it strain, if a branch could strain. It tenses, it wills, it makes resolutions. It tries affirmations. It arranges itself in better light. But there is no sap in it. There is no life supply entering. Yesterday's leaves curl while it promises tomorrow's fruit. No matter how nobly it tries, without the vine it cannot live, it cannot bear, it cannot be at peace. The agitation we feel, the mental noise we suffer, is often nothing more than this, the inner sensation of having forgotten our root, living as if the personal self must do what only the source can do. Now look again. Same branch, no heroics. Resting where it belongs, abiding in what birthed it. It need not command the sap to rise. It need not schedule a harvest. In the quiet fact of union, life becomes inevitable. Peace is inevitable. Guidance is inevitable. And flowing through that connection comes everything the vine is. Wisdom, guidance, calm, assurance, strength, patience, gentleness, order, love, courage, tenderness, intelligence, sufficiency, safety, joy, without human forcing, without the whip of will. "I am the vine," said the Master. He was not proposing poetry. He was announcing a law as sure as gravity in the soul. Therefore, when the psalm speaks, "Be still," it is saying, Stop acting like a severed branch. Cease the frantic self-invention and return, consciously, inwardly, to the point of contact within you, where the I and the Father are one. Just silently within yourself, even now, consent. You may feel the thoughts still rustling like leaves in a breeze, but the root is found beneath the wind. Yield, and the sap answers. Yield, and the noise becomes background to a presence that does not move. And in the practical hours of your day, at the desk with the figures that will not add, at the kitchen with the child who will not listen, at the bedside with the diagnosis that will not soften, you will find that the outer situation may not change instantly, but your inner relation to it changes, and that is where peace begins. The problem stops being a demand upon a severed branch and becomes an occasion for the vine to express itself. The shoulders drop. The breath loosens. The next right step presents itself without argument. Hold this, then, not as a metaphor to admire, but as a way to live. Remember it 10 times a day if you must, 100, and each remembrance is not a feat. It is a homecoming. Quiet does not have to be built. It is given whenever union is acknowledged. And union is as near as that interior I, resting where it belongs, letting God be God through it. Now we must face a habit so familiar that we mistake it for holiness. We have been taught, well-meaning teachers, loving parents, sincere congregations, that prayer is talking, making our requests known, presenting our case, arranging our sentences as if eloquence could persuade the infinite to better attention. For some, prayer becomes a shopping list recited with urgency. For others, it is an argument, a plea carefully reasoned. Because I have done this, do that. For still others, it is beautiful language, quotations piled like flowers, hoping that many words will become much power. My friends, all of that may soothe the surface for a moment. It rarely brings contact. The great mistake is this: we speak at God and never arrive at God. We fill the space with our voice and wonder why we do not hear. We inform omniscience of what omniscience already knows. We treat the holy as a distant official who must be briefed, convinced, urged, and at last cornered until it grants a favor. And because it is familiar, because it is pious, because it looks like devotion, we seldom question whether it is effective. Effective in the only way that matters. Does it bring us into the presence where transformation and guidance and healing are the natural atmosphere? Now, do not hear contempt in this. I have no quarrel with forms. Candles, hymns, set prayers, even the dear rituals of our childhood. They may calm the nerves, focus the mind, remind the heart. But without contact, they remain reminders. Without inner union, they become substitutes. Paul said it in his day, "The outer marks availeth nothing. It is the inner circumcision, the inner baptism, the inner communion that matters." So it is with us. 1,000 beautiful services cannot do what one moment of true receptivity accomplishes. The living God recognized within. The sap felt rising. Be still defines prayer anew, not as saying, but as listening. Not as pleading, but as receiving. Not as persuading, but as consenting. Prayer is receptivity. Prayer is communion. Prayer is the quiet willingness to stand aside from the personal voice and let the I within behold the I that is God. Just silently within yourself, even now, let the words stop and let the ear of the heart open. Here I am, nothing added. In that consent, wisdom, guidance, calm, assurance, strength, tenderness, order, love. These do not have to be wrestled from a reluctant deity. They flow because the door is not being pushed. And here is the law of it. Blessings cannot be inflicted. They cannot be forced upon a closed door. You yourself must consciously unite with what is true. You must say within, I am willing. When the Master met the seeker, he did not hurl blessings. He asked, do you believe that I am able to do this? By that answer, they came into conscious union with the activity of God present as Him, and the works followed. So with us. You cannot benefit from a teaching by sitting near it. You benefit when, within, you agree, yes, let this be true of me. I consent to God as my life. Therefore, let our praying turn, gently but firmly, from much speaking to much receiving. Use the words if they help you to the threshold. Then let them fall, and let presence speak itself in you. Now we are ready to do more than discuss it. We are ready to touch it, even if only for a minute. Now let us do together what words cannot do for us. This is not a performance. There is no grade to be received, no perfect emptiness to achieve. The aim is one simple yielding, one honest moment of inner consent. If thoughts continue, let them. If emotions stir, let them. Our part is only to stop pushing the door and allow it to open as it will. Sit as you are. No special posture is required. Let the hands rest. Let the breath be as it is, coming, going, without your management. First, relax the demand to succeed. Notice if there is a little voice measuring, am I doing it? Is it working? Smile at it and set it down beside you like a coat on a chair. Now, just silently within yourself, let the word I arise. Not I who must fix this, not I with a past and a future, only I, being. Rest there a moment. If the mind rushes in with bundles, I need, I fear, I hope, see the bundles and refuse the job of carrying them right now. Let them sit at the door. You are not their porter. Gently introduce an inward phrase, not as a chant to batter the mind, but as a soft anchor that can dissolve into quiet. On the in-breath, whisper within, be still. On the out-breath, and know. Do it once, twice. Then let even that soften. Let the words become less like speech and more like atmosphere, present without effort, then fading like mist into the morning. Feel for the steadiness under everything. Not a special emotion to chase, not a lightning bolt. A simple, quiet undercurrent, like the floor beneath the chair, like the sea beneath the ripples. Thoughts may ripple, restlessness may flutter. Allow even the flutter to be held in that steadiness. Do not try to quiet the mind. Let the presence hold the mind, chattering and all. If a worry rises, do not argue with it. Place it gently into that same steadiness and say within, here too. If a gratitude rises, do not clutch it. Place it there and say, here too. If nothing rises but a plain ordinariness, good. Place even that and say, here too. For a breath or two more, rest as the quiet I. And let God be God. Now we will lift our eyes again, but slowly, as from a deep pool. Some of you felt a softness, a peace spreading like warmth in winter. Some felt only a small gap in the noise, a slender spaciousness between thoughts. For still others, there was mostly resistance. Yet even there, you noticed the moment you stopped pushing. Each one of these is the principle at work. You did not manufacture stillness. You removed interference. And what is always present showed itself. As steadiness, as enoughness, as the simple fact that you are held. And so you see, the verse was not asking you to become something. It was showing you what you are when you stop interfering. One sincere yielding reveals that presence is already carrying you, even when the mind is not quiet. Keep this with you, and we will learn how to return to it again and again, without strain, in the hours ahead. Now a word of warning, spoken kindly but plainly, because I would not have you surprised by something that is inevitable. After a glimpse of stillness, the noise often returns. Freedom is hard to win. It's much harder to retain. For some, the return comes as analysis. What was that? How did it happen? Can I map the steps so I can do it again on command? For others, it rushes in as ambition. Now I will meditate twice as long, 3 times a day. I will become the stillest person in town. For still others, it arrives as boasting on Monday and doubting on Tuesday. I had a beautiful experience. Perhaps I have arrived. Followed by, it was nothing. I imagined it. The old commentator finds a fresh microphone. The reason is simple. The personal sense, the bundle of memory and fear that pretends to be you, feels threatened by surrender. It lives by managing, comparing, narrating. When it tastes a moment in which it is not center stage, it panics and offers substitutions that look spiritual but are not. It will sell you spiritual ambition, performances dressed as devotion. It will sell you guilt. You failed, you lost it, you never really had it. It will sell you discouragement. Why try? It was only suggestion. All three are the same transaction, trading living presence for immediate mental relief. Scripture gave us pictures for this. Lot's wife, looking back, froze herself into what she clung to. Esau, hungry for the moment, sold his birthright for a mess of pottage. When we attempt to recreate yesterday's hush, to bottle sap in a jar, to admire ourselves for touching grace, we are looking back. We are peddling away the birthright of union for a bowl of self-talk. Therefore, set these guardrails in your heart. When the noise returns, do not fight it. Fighting is just more noise. Do not worship it by staring at it, measuring it, fearing it. Simply return. Quietly, faithfully, without drama, return to the inner consent. Just silently within yourself say, "Here I am." Or breathe the verse once and let it fade. Refuse the urge to diagnose. Refuse the urge to report yourself to yourself. Rest again as the unadorned I, and let God be God. If the clamor keeps talking, let it talk through you as wind through trees. Your fidelity is not to silence as a condition, but to presence as reality. This is the work now. Not a single victory, but a marriage. Give up all others and cling to this one, not with strain, but with constancy. 10 times a day, 100, return. A short, sincere turning is better than a long, theatrical struggle. Do not time it. Do not grade it. The rebound will come more quietly each time you refuse to turn it into a project. The branch abides and sap rises. It does not fuss over leaves. Now let us bring this out of the meditation chair and into your kitchen, your office, your sleepless night, where the faithfulness of returning meets the very hours you live. Now, let us bring this all the way into the rooms where you live and the roads you travel. For some, stillness has meant a mountain, a monastery, or at least a room with the door locked. For others, it has meant long hours, special cushions, perfect playlists. For still others, it has meant waiting for the house to be silent, the inbox empty, the body agreeable. My friends, those conditions are kindly when they appear, but they are not required. Stillness is not the absence of activity. It is the presence remembered in the midst of it. It is portable. It rides with you like the heart in your chest. We will practice what I call micro-yields. Brief, honest pauses in which you stop pushing the door and let the inner I rest in God. Before you open the email that tightens your stomach, one breath and within, be still and know. At the sink with dishes clattering, hands moving, but inwardly, here I am. At a stoplight, eyes on the road, no drama, one soft release. I. Walking into a meeting, do not rehearse your lines. Let the line of spirit find you. Standing in the checkout line, do not rehearse a grievance. Let the grievance rest in the presence beneath it. Holding a child's shoe while the child resists, do not argue inwardly with time. Yield and let patience rise as sap, not as strain. Now about anxiety, because it visits, and sometimes it pounds. When it swells, do not wrestle it thought for thought. Acknowledge it. Yes, fear is here. And then yield beneath it as a swimmer yields beneath a wave. Say within, I do not have to solve life to rest in God now. Let the body be as it is. Let the thoughts say what they will. Place them, gently, into the steadiness you touched earlier and whisper, here too. Not one of those gusts requires you to leave the vine. Do not take my word for this. Test it. Demonstration is the only teacher that will stay with you at midnight. Give yourself 10 micro-yields today. 2 breaths and an inward I. A single, here I am. A brief, be still and know. And then watch. Do you find yourself a shade less reactive in the hallway? Do words come a fraction slower and land a great deal softer? Does guidance appear in a clear, simple next step you did not manufacture? Does patience return to your voice before your apology has to? These are not fantasies, they are fruit. The branch does not strain to bud. It abides and buds. Make of your day a moving sanctuary. The desk can be an altar. The steering wheel can be an altar. The grocery cart can be an altar. You need not leave your responsibilities. You need only refuse to carry them alone. Short, sincere turnings, again and again, let the sap answer. And if you ask, how will I know I am truly yielding? The answer is, by the fruit. We will look at that now, because presence proves itself without argument. Now let us be very definite about this word, know, because if we leave it to the mind, it will try to turn it into a conclusion, a slogan, an argument to win or lose. In the language of spirit, to know is not to decide. It is to demonstrate. Knowing is when presence shows itself as peace where panic was expected, as guidance where confusion sat heavy, as a quiet steadiness in the very place where you used to wobble. You do not persuade yourself into this. You live into it, and it proves itself. For some, the first fruits are simple and unmistakable. Less fear in the same old corridors, fewer compulsions driving the same old errands. For others, it is a tenderness that arrives without rehearsal, a spontaneous forgiveness that surprises you on the tongue, a gentler strength that holds its ground without heat. For still others, it is clarity in the marrow, intuition that needs no trumpet, a rightness that checks you from unnecessary speech, a willingness to pause in mid-reaction and let another sentence, wiser, kinder, find you. These are fruits. Listen to the rhythm of them. Less hurry, less clutching, fewer inner bargains, more patience, more order, more quiet courage, cleaner motives, simpler choices, steadier steps. The softening of resentments, the easing of old anxieties, the melting of private wars. Doors that open without violence, doors that close without regret. Provision that comes with propriety. Relationships that sort themselves with dignity. Sleep that refreshes. Work that becomes service. Service that becomes joy. Now to the one who says, I felt nothing. Be comforted. The absence of sensation is not the absence of presence. The deepest stillness is often ordinary and unadvertised. Do not look for fireworks, look for fruit. Has the edge on your words blurred to kindness? Did you remember to breathe before answering the email? Did the appetite that used to command you lose some of its voice? Did an apology come to your lips before the quarrel fully bloomed? Did a worry fail to recruit your whole day? Did you walk by a familiar bait as if it were no longer yours to bite? These are demonstrations, quiet healings of temper and tendency, subtle straightenings of path, the body unclenching without orders, the schedule arranging itself with less strain. This is how presence authenticates itself in a life. And here is the part that keeps you free. Nobody can certify your stillness. No teacher can stamp it. No organization can guarantee it. No audience can verify it for you. You must measure within, and the only measure is fruit. Are you gentler with your own heart? Are you more truthful without being cruel? Do you return more quickly when you drift? Is there less drama and more depth? If not, do not condemn yourself. Simply adjust. Talk a little less at God. Consent a little more. Manage a little less. Remember I a little more. The vine has not withdrawn. The branch need only abide. Therefore, we will not build an argument, and we will not build a club. The infinite way of this verse has no memberships, and no one can join it. The only bond among us is a spiritual bond, proven not by badges, but by life as it is lived. And so we come to the only membership there is, the inward consent you renew. Quietly, faithfully, today. For some, this is the moment you want a line to sign, a badge to wear, a place to belong with proof you are in. For others, it is the urge to organize, to schedule committees, to make a movement. For still others, it is the quiet hope someone will certify that you have arrived. My friends, there is nothing to join. The infinite way of this verse has no memberships, and no one can join it. The only bond among us is a spiritual bond, silent, living, without charter or dues, known by its fruit and sustained by your own inner consent. If there is a fellowship, it is the fellowship of those who, across towns and countries and time zones, pause at odd hours and yield to the same presence. No one can stamp that. No one can withdraw it. You cannot be voted in or out of it. You can only live it. Now let us make this very simple, because the mind will offer 100 substitutes, projects, entertainments, even spiritual performances to keep you busy at the door without ever entering. Choose this one doorway, quietly, faithfully, again and again. Consent. Give up all others and cling to this one, not with strain, but with fidelity, like a marriage held not by drama, but by daily yes. When the mind proposes effort as salvation, return to yielding. When it proposes argument as knowledge, return to recognition. When it proposes delay, later, when conditions are better, return now. Here is a practice you can carry without weight. In the morning, before you touch the world, pause. Just silently within yourself, let the word I arise, unadorned, and allow it to rest in God. Whisper within, be still, and know. And then let even the whisper fade. 30 seconds is enough for God to be God. At midday, wherever you are, desk, kitchen, sidewalk, stop for one unhurried breath and offer the same consent. Here I am. Let the sap answer what your will cannot. At night, before sleep closes the book of the day, yield again. Release your victories and your failures into the same presence. I in thee, thou in me. Then return to living. Do your tasks. Keep your appointments. Let the branch be a branch and the vine do the giving. Short, sincere turnings, morning, noon, and night, will train the heart to remember between the bells. And I see the hands of the clock have moved farther than I imagined. When I'm on a platform and the Spirit comes upon me, I forget everything else. Oh, where did the time go? That is all right. The real teaching does not end at a platform edge. It continues in your quiet moments, in your kitchen pauses, in your car at a red light, in the breath before an answer. We will not build an argument, and we will not build a club. We will build a life of consent. So we finish where we began, with the paradox resolved. Be still is not a task for the mind to accomplish. It is a doorway that opens when you consent to what already is. Yield, and the knowing rises of itself. Yield, and the fruit appears without your whip. Yield, quietly, faithfully, today.